ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great honor and pleasure for me to discuss with you our priorities for the second half of the year of 2017. Delivering concrete benefits for the citizens is the overarching aim of the Estonian presidency. We hope that our cooperation with your committee will help us to deliver. Decisions and concrete actions taken on local and regional levels play a crucial role in economic growth and creating jobs, but also in promoting good governance and sustainable development. Local and regional authorities are key to the enhancement of public sector accountability to citizens, as well as promoting justice, equality, transparency, and broad-based participation in the public sphere, building trust, resilience, and reaching out to all citizens, including vulnerable groups. My country, Estonia, has come a long way since becoming a member of the European Union in 2004. The reforms undertaken before joining the Union call for tough times and tough decisions. In this EU integration process, we reshaped our country. In response, the EU offered Estonian people many long-awaited benefits, not only structural funds, but more importantly, freedom to travel, study, work, and do business within the EU countries, representing over 500 million people. We are happy that Estonia, like all the member states, has benefited greatly, not only in economic terms, but also in terms of security and stability. Today, there is more optimism concerning the future of our Union than it was the case a year ago. Our economy is growing again, the support for the EU has increased in all member states, and the 27 have set in the declarations of Bratislava and Rome the direction for our Union for years to come. However, challenges of the recent times have not disappeared, and therefore the debate on the future of Europe still remains important. I welcome here the role the Committee of the Regions has taken in steering this debate at local and regional levels to make the voice and opinions of our citizens heard. The Estonian presidency strives for unity through balance. Unity means broad-based support for the founding values of the European idea and the goals of the European Union, as well as respect for diversity, which is a fundamental European value. Building on these principles, Europe can succeed in striking a balance between various points of view, interests, and traditions. Tenacity, unity, and future-oriented thinking require the willingness to compromise from all parties and the constant balancing act between keeping the good things that we already have and new developments. During the next 6 months, the Estonian presidency of the Council of the EU will work as an honest broker. Now more than ever, we have to focus on keeping the needs of European citizens at the center of our attention. The Estonian presidency priorities build naturally on the strategic agenda of the European Council, are inspired by the spirit of the Bratislava summit and common goals formulated in Rome Declaration. Our program is in line with the EU's legislative priorities for 2017, as set out in the joint declaration, a commitment by the European Council, European Parliament and the Council to deliver results where they are most needed. In January, we had a very good meeting in Tallinn, where we discussed our presidency's draft priorities at that time with your predecessor, Mr. President. And I have been informed that the Committee of Regions Bureau also had a fruitful discussion with our permanent representative to the EU, together with her Bulgarian and Austrian colleagues on the Council 18 months program, the so-called TRIO program. In preparation for our presidency, we have been in close contact with the Committee of the Regions, and with the help and support of Estonian members of the committee, we have identified 2 topics on which we have requested you to prepare opinions. And these topics are the local and regional perspective on promoting public sector innovation via digital solutions, and deinstitutionalization in care systems at local and regional levels. These opinions will help us to further our Presidency's four overarching priorities of: first, an open and innovative European economy; second, a safe and secure Europe; third, a digital Europe and free movement of data; and fourthly, an inclusive and sustainable Europe. In pursuing these objectives, we will respect human rights and fundamental freedoms, commit to the principle of better regulation, and examine opportunities of using various digital solutions. Let me start with the open and innovative European economy. An open Europe means creating better opportunities for citizens and businesses. A strong single market is a key driver of economic welfare, but the single market is not yet completed. Much of the potential is still untapped. We need to unleash the full potential of the single market, create simple and predictable business environment and stable banking sector, advance trade negotiations, and take a step towards cleaner energy. These objectives could be achieved by facilitating the freedom of establishment and cross-border mobility of companies. For this purpose, we would like to continue the discussions on the developments in European company law, and we are ready to launch discussions on company law reform package, which the Commission intends to propose. We are also ready to take forward the services package. The economic and monetary union has been strengthened in recent years, but the work is still ongoing. It is necessary to complete the second pillar of the European banking union by adjusting the rules for financial stability to manage and reduce risks. And we all know that the common deposit insurance system must follow as well. Further, we aim to take forward the modernization of the taxation rules. We intend to concentrate our efforts on achieving progress with the VAT e-commerce package. We intend to launch negotiations on the definitive cross-border VAT system. We will take forward the discussions on common corporate tax base, paying special attention to the challenges of digital economy. In order to create new opportunities for European businesses, we are committed to advancing the EU's trade agenda. The agreement with Japan is a groundbreaking achievement in the global context. Bilateral trade agreements with Mexico and Mercosur, amongst others, are important in this context as well. On legislative files, reaching an agreement on the new anti-dumping methodology in the WTO context will be of particular importance. In the era of slowdown of globalization, we have to put an emphasis on the modernization of trade defense instruments. We will make efforts to move Europe towards cleaner, secure, and smarter energy by paying attention to all elements of the clean energy package, with a special effort to electricity market design as the largest part of the package. A well-functioning market is the main prerequisite for developments in the renewable energy supply and the best motivator for energy efficiency. Regardless of the complexity of the electricity market and renewable energy proposals, we will try to find the compromises on the core issues. Estonia also aims to actively work on the new road package initiatives to give its input to an open and well-functioning road transport market. We are ready to open the negotiations with the European Parliament on the directive on qualifications and training for road transport workers. In addition, pending on the presentation of the proposals, discussions will be opened on the rail passenger rights regulation and on the port reception facilities regulation. In aviation, we aim to reach an agreement with the European Parliament on the basic regulation of the European Aviation Safety Agency by November. We will also aim for tangible progress on the new Commission's proposal on safeguarding connectivity and competition in air transport. We wish to establish appropriate and effective instrument to safeguard fair competition in EU external aviation relations, but also ensure high level of connectivity within as well as to and from the EU. The Estonian Presidency has made it its priority to contribute to the implementation of the space strategy for Europe. We want to show that the EU space policy and its flagship programs are a scalable tool that serves EU jobs, growth, investment and competitiveness. Our focus lies with the flagship program Copernicus, which is currently undergoing a mid-term evaluation for the years 2014-2016. The talks on the new MFF, multi-annual financial framework, will not start during the Estonian presidency. But the Estonian presidency will be well timed to take stock of many key EU policies with a view to the future. For supporting a strong and united European Union in the future, a strong multi-annual financial framework is needed. At the General Affairs Council meeting in November, we are ready to advance the political discussion about the future of the cohesion policy, taking into account the long-term development needs of the European Union as well as its regions, and supporting the continuation of a strong cohesion policy. We believe that agricultural policy should continue in the EU as a common policy, funded from the European Union budget. In the context of Horizon 2020 interim evaluation, Estonia intends to initiate a discussion on how to simplify the research and innovation partnering instruments funded from the framework program and support the participation of newcomers. Estonian presidency also plans to lead a discussion in the context of the Connecting Europe Facility midterm review on the future framework for the cross-border infrastructure investments. Considering the need to develop connections in different parts of the EU, trans-European transport and energy infrastructure financing is of crucial importance. We all know how hard it is, how difficult it is to set right the big infrastructure projects in one country. It's tenfold more difficult to agree on cross-border infrastructure projects. And that's hence the relevance of this Connecting Europe facility. It's a funding instrument of great European added value, in addition to improving digital, energy, and transport connections. It also contributes to improving the competitiveness of the EU's economy and enterprises, and improves safety and security. It is one of the priorities under the Estonian presidency, and we intend to discuss the matter over the informal meeting of the transport and energy ministers in Tallinn in September, and on the Connecting Europe conference that follows the ministers' meeting. And now on the safe and secure Europe. Security and safety is what the citizens most expect from the EU. The situation in Europe and in its neighborhood remains very challenging. Terrorism, organized crime, and protection of the external borders remain high on the EU's list of priorities. The migration crisis proves that Europe cannot ignore the events outside its borders. And ongoing discussions show that without common understanding, it is extremely difficult to provide effective solutions. We believe that security, internal and external, is indivisible. Estonia supports the High Representative in implementing the global strategy. We are ready to contribute to the strengthening of transatlantic ties. We aim to support the implementation of the objectives of the European neighborhood policy. The immediate neighborhood in the east, in the south, as well as in the Western Balkans regions require close attention. A credible enlargement policy remains a strategic investment in the peace and democracy of the continent. At the Eastern Partnership Summit on 24th of November in Brussels, we should reconfirm the EU's political commitment to the partnership. Where practical ties with the partners are deepening, our political messages and activities should follow the same track. We must communicate the results of our cooperation, but also have a forward-looking agenda for practical, understandable benefits for people. Our presidency events are not only geared towards government-to-government cooperation. We organize 2 Eastern Partnership Summit side events, Civil Society Conference and the Business Forum, e-partnership conference on trust in digital services, 3 ministerial meetings for justice and home affairs, for transport and for digital economy ministers, and several sectoral conferences. Europe needs to do more in security and defense. Implementation of the Commission's European Defense Action Plan will provide incentives for cooperation through EU funding. We hope for European Parliament's support in setting up the European Defence Fund. The cooperation between EU and NATO, including tackling hybrid and cyber threats, must be enhanced in accordance with the joint declaration from July last year. The June European Council set the deadline for presenting criteria and binding commitments for the Member States, establishing the permanent structured cooperation in the field of defence. Estonia is committed to work with the EEAS and the Member States on that issue. We will continue to address the root causes of irregular migration. Constant focus on the implementation of Partnership Framework and Valletta Action Plan remain essential. We are determined to put emphasis on implementing the EU-Turkey Statement and the Malta Declaration to significantly reduce migratory flows from Libya and to break the business model of smugglers. One of the main priorities for Estonia is the reform of the common European asylum system. The Maltese presidency worked very hard on this, including on the most difficult issue of solidarity. Together with the situation in the central Mediterranean route, the Dublin reform was the most important topic at the informal Interior Ministers meeting in Tallinn last week. We also aim to put emphasis on the return policy. As for legal migration, we hope to advance with the Blue Card Directive as much as possible, hopefully to conclude these important files. Along with strengthening the protection of the EU's external borders, we must continue creating modern IT solutions for rapid exchange of information. We will continue the work towards interoperability of different IT systems and databases in the field of internal security, and we are looking forward to having legislative proposals from the Commission. One of the important files that was closed, that the agreement was found on in the very first week of the Estonian presidency, building on the very good work on the Maltese presidency, was about on the entry-exit system of the EU. The Estonian presidency will also focus on fight against terrorism and cross-border crime. The EU needs to strengthen its capacity to counter money laundering and terrorism financing. We aim to agree on a general approach on the European Criminal Records Information System. The Estonian presidency will continue to promote the modernization and enhance the effectiveness of the EU development cooperation based on the new European Consensus for Development, the Agenda 2030 and the EU Global Strategy. Estonia wishes to particularly focus on mainstreaming the digitalization in development cooperation and enhancing resilience in EU's near and broader neighborhood. Now let me turn to the digital Europe and free movement of data. It's perhaps least surprising that digital Europe is an overarching goal of the Estonian presidency. We will try to have a digital dimension in everything or nearly everything that we do. We want Europe to be the leading edge, the place where innovation happens first. Making good use of the technology has been and will be the key to success for Europe. Technological innovation in itself is not the end game, but it is a tool that can make the lives of people, companies, and governments easier. To prepare the ground for digital Europe, our focus is on the establishment of the digital single market, increased use of digital solutions and data, as well as on the development of cross-border digital services. Estonia takes very seriously the target set by the European Council of completing all digital single market packages in 2018. This determination is firmly anchored also in the TRIO program between Estonia, Bulgaria, and Austria. Therefore, we would like to conclude negotiations in the Council and move forward in cooperation with the European Parliament with a number of digital single market strategy files, like on copyright legislation, audiovisual media services directing, ending geo-blocking, electronic communication code, to name only a few. The EU is in the early stage of a data-driven economy. Free movement of data is a crucial foundation for digital single market and European economy. Estonia is planning a broad debate on the free movement of data, covering a wide range of data economy topics, from data localization restrictions to emerging issues such as data access and reuse of non-personal data. We expect the European Commission to launch the first initiative for the free movement of data in early autumn. Trust and security are important cornerstones of a digital single market. We aim to make progress on the regulation on e-privacy and complete the negotiations with the European Parliament on EU internal data protection rules. We also look forward to the renewal of the EU cybersecurity strategy, which the Commission aims to present in September. We will then be ready to move quickly to adopt Council conclusions in November. And of course, we will be hosting a digital summit in Tallinn on 29th of September. The preparations are currently still in an early phase, but however, I would not be surprised if the discussions would focus on three overarching issues. Firstly, cybersecurity. Secondly, e-government. And thirdly, the skills needed to cope with the profound digital transformation that is taking place globally. And now to inclusive and sustainable Europe. In the light of the environmental and societal changes, inclusive and sustainable Europe is our goal for maintaining the quality of life for the European citizens. We can see how the development of information society is changing the nature of work. This calls for attention to be given to working conditions, development of skills, as well as work-life balance and equal opportunities in labor markets. We will work with the draft Accessibility Act to reach an agreement in the Council to raise the participation of people with disabilities in all spheres of life. Europe must open up new opportunities for young Europeans. During our presidency, discussions will focus on modernization of education and the EU cooperation in the field of youth work and youth policy from 2019 onwards. We acknowledge the high political priority of the European Solidarity Corps initiative and are fully committed to take the file further. To facilitate free movement of persons and services, Estonia will continue working on social security coordination regulation. We will also continue negotiations on the Posting of Workers Directive. We welcome the Commission's proposal for the interinstitutional proclamation on the pillar of social rights. Together with the Parliament and the Commission, we will work towards agreeing on the joint proclamation. A sustainable Europe cares about and contributes to a cleaner environment and a more balanced economic model. We regret the United States administration's decision to withdraw from the Paris Agreement. It will still take some time to assess the actual impact of that step, but of course it will not change the course of the EU. As reaffirmed during the June European Council, it is even more important now that the EU will stay committed to the Paris Agreement and to the commitment of reducing 40% of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. We aim to make progress with all climate policy files, the emissions trading system, including its aviation sector, effort sharing regulation, and the regulation on the inclusion of greenhouse gas emissions, and of course, land use change and forestry regulation, the LULUCF. A legislative package that amends 6 directives covering various aspects of waste management is currently being negotiated between the Council and the Parliament. Dear President, honourable members of the committee, intense work is ahead of us. However, we will seize the opportunities that the Presidency offers to us, and we will do our utmost to make our Europe even more united, stronger, and a better place for European citizens. We are confident that there is sufficient unity and determination in Europe to tackle all challenges dynamically. We are looking forward to working with the Committee of Regions, as decisions taken at European level have an impact on all of us, all citizens of the Union. We need to engage local and regional stakeholders and have fruitful exchange with them. Thus, we need all the help and cooperation that we can get from you, and I welcome your bureau in Tallinn later this year. Thank you very much.